And we are back here on Fox 59 tonight, here in the studio with John Pastor G. Girton, co founder of Unite for Change, and the Dr. Heather Savage, co founder of Let Them Talk. Two people who are leaders in Indianapolis doing great work, have been for years. This is a time where people are no longer hiding their thoughts and are very clear that they don't want organizations like Unite for Change to exist and do what they do. Let Them Talk to exist and do what they do. And even programming, TV shows like this to have these conversations, all of it is outright under attack from the FCC to the CDC and the funding with all of it in between. And so this is probably the hardest time to one, organize, and two, probably one of the worst times to try to run an organization like yours, Heather, because again, in 2016, in 2020, excuse me, everybody was, what kind of money you need? What do you need? Here you go. Here's this. We'll sponsor this. Black people, yay. Kids, yay. Brown people, yay. Now it is written into laws. So if it has the word black in it, not considered. If it has the word diversity, equity, inclusion, you're not getting it. They don't want what y'all do to exist. And Heather, if I may, you've experienced it already with some funding from the federal government that got pulled. What happened and how did that impact kids right here in Indianapolis?
Yeah, I mean, we had a program last year that we were running as the partnership with an organization or entity, and we came in as the site coordinator, implementation partner, and we told them, of course, what we wanted, what we needed, like up front, and they didn't give it to us, but we still were like, we're gonna make it happen. So we coordinated transportation. We did the registration, we got catering, we got all that stuff set up. And then, things started to be reimbursed and the program was great. We were able to we served over 50 kids from across the city that were able to come.
Can I just also add
Yes.
the R word?
Yes.
Reimburse.
Yes.
How do you reimburse people who were trying to do something with nothing in the first place? These places, these city, state, federal governments
Martin
who have the
University.
money.
Martin University.
Since we're name dropping,
Yeah.
That's
how
what
do you
happened with
ask
Martin.
people who have nothing, go ahead and put that programming on, and then we'll reimburse you after it's done, 30 days after it's done?
Yeah. And a lot of times it was like 60 days.
Mhm.
I think our last reimbursement came in probably in September and we were done in July. And so it was like a waiting game. And it was one of those things where it's like, as a co-founders, we just had to make it happen. We were trying to ask people for money here and there, but when it came to the reimbursement piece of it, like you said, we didn't have it to begin with. We were just doing it and figuring it out. And so they were able to, I don't even want to say give us that money back. I don't even know. I mean,
Well, you've even got the federal government now. You had an event that got canceled.
Yep. And so now here we are again trying to do it again, bring in more kids because the kids from last year are interested. They've been telling their friends. So now we have more kids and now we can't do it. Like I said, because of all of these changes with the executive orders and all these words that you can and you can't say and things that you can and can't do. And so it puts us in a tight spot as an organization that serves the Black community and Black kids, because now what do we do with these kids? How can we effectively serve them? How can we help their families? And so that's why it's so important to try to pull resources together and partner with other organizations that are doing the same work, because we can't figure this out by ourselves. And so that's why working with Unite for Change is going to be so important, or it is so important for us, and just organizations and people that are going to be here in general, because we can't fight this fight by ourselves. Like, we just can't.
Nope.
Pastor G, the climate right now is bold, is not hiding it. It is There's lawsuits and constitutional lawyers looking at things where, you know, maybe before, and I'm just making up something. Maybe before Indiana University might have been like, yeah, we can help out with that. Black community, sure. Now the laws are written that say Indiana University, you cannot spend money that way. You cannot give that money to Pastor G. How do you survive in this climate?
This is not new, and it may be new to people in Indiana, but I lived in Nashville for almost 20 years. And in Nashville, Confederate flags are, a dime a dozen. When you go down to a place like Nashville or south of the Mason-Dixon, you'll understand that what we are seeing now in Indiana is out of that playbook, right? You knew who didn't like you down there. Everybody agreed. There's a pastor down there named Tex Thomas, and Tex Thomas used to teach us that, the way we get work done is not because we agreed with somebody else, not even because we liked them, but we knew that we had to work together to get something done. And once we got that done, we went in our different directions because we did not see eye to eye on every issue, but we did agree on this. And here we are in Indiana, basically dealing with the same thing. The people who we used to, who took the robes and the little pointy hats off and put on suits. Now they're putting them back on. You follow? And they're showing you who they are. They never changed who they were. They just changed what they were wearing to try to convince us that they were our friends. They were trying to convince us that they were on our team, but what they really wanted was our resources, right? They wanted our home. They wanted our neighborhood. They wanted to gentrify. They wanted to raise the taxes on our seniors and whatnot, so they could take their homes. And let's not be delusional about this. They have not changed. They just changed the way they talked and what they wore. And so I'm not surprised with what's going on, with what's being said, and what people do and don't like, or do and don't want. Because again, I lived in Nashville for 20 years and I saw it. Y'all saw the Tennessee 3. Y'all saw the Tennessee 3 down in the State House down there in Nashville, Tennessee. The two black dudes that got expelled, got kicked out in the State House, all that kind of stuff. Y'all remember that? That's normal down there, and that is coming here, if it isn't already here. So let's just say, if that's going to be the mode of operandi, if it's going to be the way y'all gonna operate, then we have to operate the way we always have, right? When our people needed a school, they received addicts, and when they got addicts, they were told it was going to be separate and equal. We all knew that it wasn't going to be. The students got there and they realized that the resources they had were hand-me-down. They realized that they did not give us enough resources to hire the best teacher with all the experience, right? We knew that. Our folks knew that the food that they was going to get was going to be what everybody threw out. And so what did we do? We got creative. What did we do at Addicts? The best teachers came together and said, we're going to step up. They had college professors teaching at Addicts to make sure those students had what they needed, right? And they took a bad situation, they took the under-resourced nature of what they were given, and they got creative and they made it work. They looked within themselves and they made it work. And that's what we got to do now. We got to look within ourselves and make it work. Nothing has changed. This is the same story played over and over and over again. Our biggest issue is that if you don't know your history, you're destined to repeat it. If you don't know what happened in 1922 when the Klan took over the school board, if you don't know what happened in 1927, if you don't know what happened in the city in 1969 and 1971 with the whole busing thing and all that kind of stuff, if you don't know what happened in 1982, if you don't know what happened with the Heritage Foundation in 2011, 2012, and they poured all that money into the school board races, if you don't know that, you're destined to not only repeat it, but you think that what we see is brand new. It is not brand new. All we got to do is do what we're doing, Heather, Dr. Heather. All we got to do is do what we're doing. Find ways to collaborate and to share our resources and to not think that this is mine and ain't enough for everybody. So I gotta, I gotta hate on what you got going on so that I can keep mine or whatever. So we got to get away from that.
So, but that was my next question, because you said nothing is changing. You talk about how everybody came together at Crispus Attucks and all that. It feels to me that part has changed, because you have a lot of people who are only looking out for themselves and do not see that this is a collective and that we are truly stronger together. Because while y'all are infighting, the opposition is making their plans, and they might disagree, but they understand that together we move forward.
This is simple. Some go, some are pushed, and others are dragged. The rest die. Who are you going to be? Are you going to go? You're going to get pushed. You're going to be dragged. Or you're going to die. That's it.
But what do you do about the organizations who are the loudest and they're getting what they need, but you talk about being pushed, dragged, or die, they also aren't pulling anybody alongside them?
The people know.
Do they?
The people know. Yeah, you go out there. When we set up the epicenter right there at the corner of 30th and MLK. That epicenter was designed to do intake, bring people in, to talk to them, because they say, man, I need a job. And we talked to them for 5 minutes. We realized, no, you don't need a job. You need an education. Or, man, I need rent or whatever. And we talked to them long enough. We found out, man, you don't need rent. You need, you need substance abuse. That's what you need. You know what I'm saying? So we did intake, and we found out what people really needed, what the root cause of their issues were. And then we set about designing a way for those individuals who showed their need could actually access what they needed. And those folk were telling us, I ain't going over there. Why not? Well, I've been there before, and I know what they do. They don't help you. They when you go there, they send you someplace else. When you go there, they send you someplace else. Right? The people know.
So how do you, in your upcoming event, explain to the people, because I know that I have met people doing this who I know who are doing great work, and they say, oh, I've been doing this for 20-something years. I'm like, I've never heard of you. And it doesn't mean that they haven't been doing it. They've just been doing it quietly. But again, as we go back to where we started, those are the people that burn out. So how do you explain to those people that this is the world that you are working in, which also requires you to be loud enough? You do have to tell people what you are doing.
And what you're saying is why everybody won't show up. Everybody's not going to show up. And let me tell you why. When you come into the unconference, what you're going to see are these sheets all along the wall. Okay? Well, they're taped to this backdrop thing, right? And so you're going to see these sheets. And on these sheets, there's going to be listed at the top a presenting issue: food insecurity, recidivism, joblessness, mental health, da-da-da-da-da. There's going to be tons of sheets along the wall. You're going to look on the stage, and there are going to be these boxes. And on these boxes, there are going to be all those very same issues: big boxes, small boxes, whatever. And then right on top of that box is going to be an issue. On the top of all those boxes are going to be what we call the presenting issue. These are the issues that hit the front page of the newspaper. These are the ones that everybody knows about: homelessness, poverty, violence, you name it. They're going to be at the top. And then when you walk into the room, Cameron, you're going to walk in and you're going to say, man, I represent X organization. Kyle Marshall, who's going to open up the session, is going to tell you to go to the sheet that represents the issue that you deal with and write the name of your organization, right? That's going to happen throughout the day. You come in, you go to that sheet, you write down the name of your organization. Here's what's going to happen. As those sheets fill up, you're going to notice that we got a lot of people to do this and nobody's doing this.
Visual.
Correct. And then at the end of the session, right before the youth come up to give their report out, Kyle's going to come up and we're going to do an exercise where we go to those boxes. Those boxes are arranged in such a way where the presenting issue is on top of a root cause, which is on top of a root cause. And what you'll find is that we have tons of people that want to deal with the presenting issue because that's where the money flows. That's where the grant dollars go. They go to what hits the front page. But if we don't have resources to deal with the underlying issue, guess what? The presenting issue ain't going nowhere. You're trying to deal with what hits the front page, but you forgot to deal with the mental health. You forgot to deal with the addiction. You forgot to deal with daddy ain't home. You forgot to deal with mama ain't home. You forgot to deal, you know what I'm saying? If you don't deal with the root causes, the presenting issue ain't going nowhere. That's why we're burnt out. We've got too many organizations that are duplicating effort, and we have not enough organizations that are filling the gaps or the voids of, and you'll see it all on the wall. Man, it'd be so, there were people crying at the last conference because they were like, I've never seen this before. There were people taking pictures of the sheets because I've never seen these. This is my issue. All these organizations that are addressing my issue. You see, that's how, and so some organizations are going to be there, right? Other organizations are going to be there. They're going to be like, man, I've been waiting to find out who else I could partner with or collaborate with that's doing similar work. I just didn't know. That's what we hear all the time. People say, I had no idea that they were doing this. I had no idea that this organization existed, right? And so it will become real for people when they walk in the room, they look on those sheets, they see some of the sheets. We have to put extra sheets on because there's so many organizations that deal with that and not enough organizations deal with this. And that's where we would say, who can fill these gaps? Because if we don't fill these gaps, the presenting issue is not going anywhere. Our young people are going to still deal with what they're dealing with. We got people that are coming out of prison going to go right back if we don't deal with this issue, if we don't have something to fill the gap. That's why collaborations, partnerships, finding those places where we can work together is important because it also exposes the gaps and says, woo, we need to fix this. You know, we need to cover this because if we don't deal with this, they're going to get burnt out. Because there's not enough people that are addressing the root cause of our issue. I hope that makes sense.
Heather, how do, if other people, you know, say, I want to start an organization, I want to do this, I want to accomplish this goal. You've been doing it, you are doing it, and you've seen the success, but you also learn how difficult it is. What's the first thing that they should know?
I mean, I think the first thing that you should know is that, and there's a lot of people that say, I want to start an organization, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I think the first thing that you should know, like, you can't come into this wanting to it can't be about money. Can't be about money, you're going to be rich, or I'm going to get all this, or I'm going to even get a grant, because grants are not, I mean, when you submit them, it is 1 out of 500 people that submit an application. Or
and again, right now, the grants have been told, don't you give grants to such, to this, that, and the other.
Funders are sending applications back saying, take this out, take this out, take this out. Grant committees are, if they see it, they're throwing it away. And I can say this because I'm on the front end of writing them, and I'm on the back end at the tables of giving out the grants and going through the grant application. So I think you can't come into this thinking that funding is going to be easy, that you're automatically going to get a grant for the work that you're doing. You need to have a plan. You need to be prepared. And I think that's what at least made Let Them Talk as successful as we have been, because we had a plan. We sat and talked about Let Them Talk for 2 years before we did anything. We thought strategically about who we're going to work with, who we're going to bring into our team, who was going to be our board chair, who was going to be our leadership coach, those different type of things, because we know how Indianapolis is. And if you don't come in and you don't come in right, they're going to rip it apart. But also we knew we needed to be prepared and we needed to have a plan. So anybody who wants to start an organization, have anything, you need to have a plan for sustainability. You need to have a plan for partnerships. You need to have a plan for literally every single piece of your organization, how you're going to market. Where are you going to market? You know, those type of things. Like, you really have to have literally a plan for every single thing before you can roll out your organization, before you can start trying to do this work, because you're going to run into something like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Yes, you need to have a plan. And I mean, it doesn't hurt to, but that's why the conference is so important, because you're going to meet people in your network that you don't know and that you can now build with, and that can help you build your organization for it to be successful. And so that's why the depth of this conference is so important, because you're going to get all of those things. But planning, long-term planning, short-term planning, like, that's what I would tell anybody that wants to start an organization. Like, you have to be ready, and you have to have a plan.
And I, if I can add to that real quick, is that it's okay to be inspired into something. As a pastor, I'm always inspired. I got visions. I got so many visions. I forgot some of them, right? I mean, it's okay to be inspired. But at some point, you want to also be data informed. You want to sort of look at the data around who it is that you want to serve and where they are and what they need and what they respond to demographically and psychographically, those kinds of things. Because I learned as a pastor that I had to learn more about the community that I was pastoring in to be a more effective community pastor, right? And so that means I had to know about who came in my doors and who walked past my doors, right? So that's, it's good to be inspired, but it's also just as good to be data informed about the decisions you're making about what you want to do.
I'm going to share the website while we talk so people can see how to register. But I want to know about the sessions because Heather, Dr. Savage, you said we know how Indianapolis is. In this conference, are you guys going to talk about Indianapolis specific and Indiana specific on how you have to navigate in these rooms? Because every city is different with how they, especially with the nonprofit world and this type of programming, every city is different. And I think we've learned Indianapolis is unique. Are you going to explain that?
So, I mean, yes, we will explain it in the ways that the youth can understand it. So again, we're talking to them from the lens of what they're experiencing with real life experiences, and we're talking to them about the root causes. And so, of course, we'll be talking about the issues in the community around safety and youth violence. We'll be talking about the mental health issues, but then also just deeper of just like we were talking about, like mama's not home and daddy's not home. How is this really affecting you? Because your parents are gone, or maybe you just have one parent there and you can't. And I mean, from experience, one of our youth in our program said that she couldn't come back because she has to watch her younger siblings this summer while her mom goes to work. And so those are things that we want to talk about because those are things that are real life issues for these kids that are 13 and 14 years old that you can't even participate in a 6-week summer program because you have to watch your younger siblings. Also because your mom is the only one that's at home, the only one at home. She's the only one that's working. She's got 3 jobs. She's got 4 kids, access to childcare. Like there's so many things when you start going down the rabbit hole for this. But we are going to be talking about like I said, even like social media and just like boundaries and healthy relationships, the things that these kids are dealing with every day when they walk into school. A lot of times we hear, oh, somebody in my family died the night before. There was it's something that happened in my apartment, and there was a whole thing, and I got to get up and go to school the next day and take this test and act like everything is okay. So we want to talk to the kids. Yes, we're going to be talking about presenting issues, root causes, but also tying in this real life, real world things that they are really dealing with. We want to make sure we give it to them in their language, but also they're giving it back to us in our language. And so we have a youth keynote speaker. She's a senior at Brownsburg High School, Kanaya Daughtry. And then we also have the principal from Rooted Schools, Dr. David McGuire, is going to come also and kind of really just try to give some encouragement to the kids, also try to give a call to action to the kids. And like I said, the whole purpose of this and the youth track is to help them build and establish their own network. And so we will be going into those things just to make sure that we are talking about the things that are affecting them. Yes, here in Indianapolis.
Pastor G, I've got the website up. Take us through.
Well, real simply, if someone wants to register, looks like go back to the home page if you don't mind. Right there at the bottom below that top graphic is the register button. I believe there's a sponsor button there as well if somebody still wants to sponsor. And and there's a sponsorship packet. We do still need some funds. I'll say specifically for the youth. We want to make sure they have everything that they need, and so we're still trying to make sure we hit that. And then I think the last one may be volunteers. Someone can email us if they're interested in volunteering. I think that's what that says.
Volunteer. Yeah.
Yep. And that just opens up their email and whatnot. But if they hit register, there's probably 4 tickets there. There should be the adult track ticket. There should be a youth track ticket. There should be a vendor ticket. And then I am pleased to say there is a VIP Steward Speakers ticket for all of our Steward Speakers VIPs. They are, again, one of our co-branded partners that are, they will be working the logistics for our keynote awards luncheon with Theron Bond. So Steward Speakers does an amazing job here in our community by bringing just awesome speakers that not only she'll speak and then she'll do a Q&A, Q&A. So people will have an opportunity to talk to her directly. I talked to her last night. She's excited about coming, and she also wants to engage with the audience. She'll be here for probably 2 or 3 days before the conference, and she's staying for 2 or 3 days after. So she's trying to get up trying to get up into place there. The other speakers are covering 4 tracks: public policy and civic power, from protest, can't even say it, from protest to policy, economic equity and innovation, building power beyond survival, health, justice, and healing, reimagining wellness in our community, justice and equity, redefining DEI in a backlash era. So those are the 4 tracks that we'll be covering, and most of those speakers, if not all of them, have a different, obviously, everybody knows Vanessa Summers. She has been at our conference almost every year to help deal with, how to go from, a protest to policy. She's done that every year. We've got some dynamics. Kelly Lester, we actually went to college together, and she's gone off and done great work with Sarah Lee, and now she owns her own consulting company. She'll be dealing with DEI. We've got Angel and Abram, who are from Atlanta. They'll be doing the faith track and talking to our faith leaders about the best way to collaborate, because with them and with us, it's really not right or left, it's right or wrong, right? And so we need to, as faith community, know how to collaborate and still have our faith be the grounding for which we make our decisions and for which we advocate. Kyle Marshall's coming in. He's with Shore International up in Chicago. He is a servant leadership expert. He's opening everything up, and he's going to close everything down. Everybody knows Denisha Posey, civil rights attorney. Of course, she's going to come in and talk about justice. Emil, man, God bless him for his work with InnoPower. He brings that data-driven insight as to where our community needs to go as it relates to economic mobility. I'll stop there because I could keep going on and on and on. We just got some great subject matter experts that are be in the house. One of the other things I'll mention that we are doing is we are tapping into AI in a major way for this conference. And so we've got a tech team that's going to be recording every session audio, and they will then be taking that audio, transcribing and summarizing every session on the fly. So Kyle Marshall, who's going to open up, is going to be working with that team to summarize everything. So he'll be consuming the summaries as we head towards the closeout. So he'll have a better idea of what everyone talked about. And then we're going to produce this major document of everything that went on at the unconference. You don't know this yet, but we're going to take this major picture. I think, well, we may have said it to you. We're going to take this major picture of all the organizations that come together that day, and that's going to be on the cover of the Unite for Change Urban Servant Leadership Report Out document. And so I am so excited about the fact that we're going to be able to walk away with a physical document that people can refer to that helps them understand exactly what happened at the conference.
Well, Dr. G, we are just about completely out of time, but I do want to say, like, a real quick on the website, I like looking at the pictures because I see some people who I've known over the years when they were just starting in their mission and now are, leading programs and different things around the city. I saw a picture. There's a young Ashley Gervitz there.
She was at our first unconference in 2015.
She's somebody who we know is going to eventually run the city. But it starts with coming to events like this. This is how you get in the door real quick. Samantha Douglas.
She was there at the beginning.
She's been on the show a lot. In fact, I'm trying to get her to come back on the show this week. We got stuff to talk about. Real quick, here is the details of where this is. This is Saturday, June 21st, 8:30 till 3 at Martin University. The website, uniteforchange.org. Pastor G,
yes, sir.
Dr. Savage, thank y'all so much for coming on. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for telling the truth about how hard it is out here in these streets to keep this stuff going. Because again, the other thing I wanted to point out, Dr. G, is you were showing those tickets there, and it said free admission, but this conference is not free to put on.
No, my God, no. We still pounding the pavement, trying to make some things happen. So call Sister Savage, Dr. Savage, call Pastor G, reach out to us.
If you are watching and you want to donate, or you know somebody who does, reach out to them. Website, uniteforchange.org. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Fox 59 tonight. We thank you for watching. I'm Cameron Riddle. We'll have more conversations like this coming up Sunday morning on my radio show. Open lines on 106.7 WTLC and on Hot 100.9. For now, have a good night.